Good morning. Nice of you guys to drop by.
What a piece of junk.
What are you talking about?
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed.
Look, don't worry. Everything's gonna be fine. Trust me.
I don't know what all this trouble is about, but I'm sure it must be your fault. Don't get technical with me.
This bickering is pointless.
Don't everybody thank me at once.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
How could you even say that?
I got a bad feeling about this.
Well, come on.
Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Would you get going, you pirate?
Get in there, you big furry-o! I don't care what you smell!
I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
If what you've told me is true, you will have gained my trust.
I like the sound of that.
Get a shuttle ready.
I don't know. Fly casual.
Shuttle Tydirium, what is your cargo and destination?
Transmission commencing.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning again to another exciting episode of the Shuttle Tydirium podcast, where we are the mothership of casual X-Wing. I'm your host and pilot, Jim Chadwick, and I do have sitting next to me my co-pilot, Phil Mead. How's it going, Phil?
It's going well. We have our first advertisement on the podcast, and here it is. Are you looking for a loyal companion to share your home with? You're in luck. We're happy to announce that the perfect pet is now available for your adoption. Walklings. What are walklings? Well, I'll tell you. Walklings are baby Ewoks, and they are adorable little furballs. They are easy to train and easy to handle, and they don't even bite that much. And I'll tell you, they make the perfect addition to any household. You can bring one home today for the low adoption fee of just 1,000 credits. You can make that purchase right here on the Shuttle Tydirium.
Yes, please get rid of small unwanted
We've got
Ewoks.
plenty. I've got a whole bag full of them.
Well, all right.
Bag.
We also have with us someone who might be able to help you with some of this protocol effort, our cranky protocol droid. J-Bot, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. I'd be doing even better if sales would pick up just a teensy bit, but that's okay. There's plenty where those came from, and we can always find another source solution for our overstock. So it's all right.
Overstock. And I'm really happy to announce we also have from the back room Jake the Break, our chief engineer.
Hey, it's good to be here. I got to say, I am incredibly surprised that there's even any of those baby Ewoks around after the sterilization efforts that J-Bot has been really painstakingly putting his heart and soul into. But
I know. I was a little surprised too. And just even death toll.
It's what happens when you spill water on these things after midnight. It's really bad.
It does seem like that. It does. I do have an announcement. I'm not sure if the rest of the crew has actually been made aware of this, but I got some notification from the Imperial Navy. It is a reassignment request or orders for Jake the Break. He is actually being transferred to a VT-49 Decimator class long-range patrol craft. He is no longer going to be on the Shuttle Tydirium.
It's true. It's sad. It is sad but true.
Which I don't know how you got the request out, because I have been blocking those requests for a while now, and I'm very surprised to hear this.
It's after a year, I wisened up to the fact that none of my requests were getting out, and instead of using the conventional methods, I hijacked J-Bot's protocol mode when he was in his oil baths and unconscious. So I used those and was able to get my message sent, and it was amazing. He's got some slicing protocols in there that are just amazing.
I was wondering why you were spending so much time in the oil bath with J-Bot.
Well,
that did seem
I
weird.
knew somebody was using my protocols when I wasn't paying attention.
All right, J-Bot, you need to pay me back that bribe money to
because I thought one of them was using my protocols. Unbelievable.
And I spent good money to block those. I need that money back now since it's.
No, it's a one-time no refund fee. Sorry.
Don't pay me, baby Ewok. I got enough of them myself.
J-Bot doesn't issue refunds.
Well, Jake, you're going to be sadly missed. Sadly missed on the podcast.
I am going to miss you all too. You guys have been a ton of fun, and I loved our weekly rendezvous and, transporting all those passengers to Endor and back, which, after all this time, I still can't believe we are still transporting people to Endor and back. It's just amazing to me.
I know.
There's just something in the water there that people just have to go and see. But hey, who knows? Just because I'm on another ship doesn't mean I'm dead, and I will potentially be back. Who knows? I'll stop by when I have shore leave.
And you're helping us with other projects.
No, ain't that the truth? Chief engineer status is still, fully functional. So just because I'm on another ship, for some reason, the Imperial Navy said I still have to take some orders from Captain Chadwick. I don't know how that actually works, but I'll be doing some editing, it seems.
Dotted lines are rough.
Yeah, they are. That fine print. Oh.
All right.
Sounds like we might have a mute microphone, perhaps.
Oh yes, dang it. Yeah,
he was fuming. He was fuming so much that he was like.
I was saying there's this things called ranks that kind of let me still order you around in the Navy, and there was some stipulations. I said there were some unfinished projects, and I would only give you up if I had you helping me out with some of these last minute requests. So
Captain, I'm really surprised with the whole rank comment that you're not a Grand Moff already. I mean, that's some pretty serious pull you've got there.
Those are too high profile, I kind of
fly under the radar.
Yeah, gotcha. And a little bit of blackmail assistance from J-Bot helps grease the right wheels and
Blackmail is such a dirty word.
It is.
And it's not really blackmail when you're greasing with the blood of Ewoks. It's just it's a different thing entirely.
True.
Like I said, blackmail's a rough word. We call it leverage in the trade. Leverage.
Leverage. Well, there are some projects actually that you are going to be assisting with. We do have our YouTube channel that is actually, we're uploading all old episodes and we're slicing them up into different segments. If you want to get some of the old captain's questions or the J-Bot rants, things like that, where we're trying to split them all up and get up there. And there's also J-Bot has got some new software. He's doing a RPG, a Star Wars RPG with the rest of the crew. I unfortunately can't. I've got too many other captain responsibilities, but they're actually uploading the YouTube recordings of their sessions. So that should be. I have only just started, and it's a lot of fun already. So
it's lots of fun. Jake is somebody's pet lizard. I'm a Bothan. It's lots of fun.
Lots of fun. It's ridiculous. I think about it every waking moment.
Yeah, it's a little frightening, really. I got a text this morning at 4:00, like 4 a.m. Like, ding! I'm like, all right, who's dead? What happened? It's like, oh, it's Jake. Got Jake. Go to bed.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I did do that. I completely forgot what time it was. Oh yes.
Yeah, so they're having a lot of fun with it. So there's a few episodes up with that. Go check that out. And also, while we're upselling Ewoks, I've redone the T-shirt sales. So it's on the Facebook page, and we'll try to put it into the show notes. But it should be a recurring thing. So if you want that Shuttle Tydirium swag, like we've had some requests out there, it is now available out there for you to order. All right. So that's a bit. I think we can go straight to the captain's question, but I think in honor of Jake, it being your last time going to Endor and back, I'll let you be the chief engineer question.
A chief engineer question. All right. Well, that's cool. Okay. Let's see. I've been waiting a long time for this moment. I gotta get the words just right. Okay. Here's my chief engineer's question for all of you fantastic people. In the Star Wars universe, what is your favorite alien species? Now, we can choose any sentient species, any intelligent species. It could be a monster, a whatever. And tell us why. Is it because you want to be them? Is it because you want to meet them, be friends with one of them, or do you just want to shoot them? You want to eat them? I want to hear all your inner desires. Let's go with that.
Oh,
let's start with. Oh wow, I get to choose. All right, let me see who's going to breathe first. Oh, it almost sounded like Jim tried to mute his microphone. So let's start with Captain. Let's start with the Captain. What is your favorite?
No, I gotta get off on mute here. Jeez, my favorite. Could it be Gundams? No, not Gundams.
Could be for the right reason, maybe.
Yeah, for spacing them. I'm gonna go sand people.
Nice.
They're just they're
different species.
They're not actual people, are they?
I don't think so. I think they're
just because they're sand people doesn't mean they're not people.
Oh. Well, I don't know.
Very clever. Very clever. I'm pretty sure you are right. In reality, they are alien. There's an alien race.
They're just kind of unknown, and they got those little, wraps on their head, little goggles, and they're just kind of neat. I just kind of like it. So, yeah, I'm gonna go sand people.
Nice.
Second choice would be Rhodians, just because Greedo. I don't know.
Yeah. Fun fact about Rhodians, which I read recently, is that Rhodians were descendants of reptilian kind of tree lizards or something like that, and their little hands were suction cups, and they would climb trees and mountains really, really well. But as they evolved, they got heavier and heavier, and then it started to be less and less impressive. And so now they can't really hang on to cliffs or anything, but they still had those vestigial kind of suction cups on their fingers.
Ah, I like it.
Yeah, so there's a little fun fact for your Rhodian pleasure. Let's move on now to this is strategic. I'm going to choose Phil next because I really want J-Bot on my last episode to say someone stole his. So I'm going to give Phil the next.
It's equally possible.
Give Phil the question.
Okay, so the real question is, what is J-Bot's favorite species going to be, so I can steal it?
Yes.
This might make me change my answer. J-Bot's favorite species.
It's a mental game now. Like
Shoot.
It's like Boshek.
Oh yeah.
This is exactly
never get
what
into
it's like to play with
landward
Boshek.
Asia.
Think 2 steps ahead of him. I'm probably not going to get it.
You'll have to give us 2 then. The one that you think that will be J-Bot's, and then the one that is your actual.
Well, okay, I think J-Bots might be Chiss, which are a cool, isolationist species. That's Admiral Thrawn's species.
Right,
Skin,
right.
red eyes. From the old EU, but now are canon because of Rebels. Those guys are pretty cool. They're pretty hardcore.
Very, yeah.
For me, I think I've always had a soft spot for Mon Calamarians.
Nice.
Admiral Akbar and his bridge buddies on Home 1.
Oh, it's a trap.
With their big floppy hands and big fish eyes, they always seem pretty cool. Yeah, I like Mon Cals.
Also, you do their voice very well. I think that
as people will eventually discover.
Yes.
Oh, he won the contest back from episode 3.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I did
right.
Admiral Akbar.
Or however that was. Yeah.
Admiral Akbar.
That's right. I don't have enough jowls. I remember that because I think I just posted that episode to the YouTube page.
All right, so the J-Bot.
Yeah, Jim, it's my turn. Okay.
Oh.
All right. So J-Bot, please go ahead. Tell us your answer.
Well, okay, 2 things. You guys, this is before the show. Jake, that was the exact same question I had. Remember when I said I got a question? Like, literally, that's the question I was like, no one's had this one. Damn it! So you stole my question to begin with.
I win. I win the game. Oh.
And but Phil's right. Chiss is my favorite.
All in one.
You know what that means, guys? We just had an idiot array here on the podcast. Fantastic.
All right.
Not only was my question stolen, but my answer was stolen. I mean, maybe I should be the one that's transferring over to a new ship because this is ridiculous.
I think our droid is about to self-destruct here. This just isn't logically possible.
They figured me out. They figured me out. I got to get out of here. I've been here too long. But no, the Chiss have been my favorite for a long time, and probably since I read the Thrawn trilogy way back in the day, and I don't even know why. I've never looked up their history. I've never looked up any of the kind of background on them. It's just always been this weird allure
They have
to
like
them.
they have an isolationist empire.
And I think that might be part of it, is that they are kind of self-imposed isolation, but whenever they leave, they're very kind of individually dangerous. At least every time I've ever seen them in stories and comics and stuff. As individuals, they're a dangerous species not to be trifled with, sort of thing. So it was always, I guess maybe that's the allure of it, is that they can be isolationist and yet still be very kind of commanding, and they're super intelligent and very good with tactics and all this stuff. So it's like, I really like that. Maybe I just wish I could be that way. Yeah, that's it. I don't have a real good, great answer for it, but it's
well, I think it is a great answer. I mean, even just watching, Rebels and seeing Thrawn in all his glory is pretty cool. I mean, just like you said, he's like an individual that just exudes a lot of power, a lot of danger. Although we haven't seen him do a whole lot yet, but you can just tell he's cooking up something.
Yeah, and I know, like, the Thrawn character, what always drew me to him is if you look at just kind of how he was portrayed. Like, look at the very first time, at least for me, that he's seen. It's that kind of brooding, almost like super villain, sitting in his chair, brooding kind of look. And it's like, man, there's something about that that's just really cool. And he's not this kind of super sadistic, like, I must do very, very evil, bloodthirsty things to people, and in order to be evil, in order to be kind of this overpowering character.
He's never like unnecessarily vicious. He's vicious, but it's always for a reason.
He's utterly efficient.
Yeah, he's efficient and ruthless, but for a reason. It's not just for ruthlessness' sake.
Right. And you know what else? He's also he's like a good commander. Phil and I were talking about this not too long ago, right? He's like trying to. What was that other guy that
he's a good leader. Like there's a very important scene in the Thrawn trilogy where there's this tractor beam operator that is trying to get a lock on Luke Skywalker, and Luke does some crazy trick with a torpedo and the tractor beam operator loses him, and Luke escapes. And the tractor beam officer's superior tries to like blame Luke getting away on the operator's incompetence, but the tractor beam operator explains what happened and says, has like a theory for how to prevent Luke from getting away the next time, from that trick from working again. And Thrawn says, Luke got away, but it's not really your fault. You weren't trained in this technique. That's a good technique. Figure it out. And then he turns to like the supervisor and says, "You didn't train him right." And I think he does something to him. I forget exactly what he does. He might have had that guy killed.
I can't remember something.
Yeah, I can't remember, but it was definitely the standard kind of Empire. You're now promoted sort of thing. Like the person who was in charge is now no longer in charge for one reason or another, and the person who he was essentially trying to blame is now made the higher for one reason or another. So, which I like that as a tactic, is it rewards kind of intelligence and rewards, don't just hammer the mistake. Like, why did you make a mistake? Get better, and if you're willing to do that, hey, I can use you. If you're just a blame guy, then
yeah, he wasn't about punishing people just because something he didn't like happened. You only punish people if they legitimately screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Good.
So, yeah.
You know,
Excellent.
I'm kind of wishing I had picked the space monkey from Rogue One. He's like a furry weasel.
Yeah, we don't even know the species.
That Bistan? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, Bistan. Yeah. All right.
Space monkey. All right. So I guess that's left with me now. My favorite species. I'm going to kind of go to when I was a kid and I had first seen the Star Wars movies. The alien species that stood out for me that I was just like, oh, I want to meet them. I want to be their friends and everything. Was actually the Ithorians. And if you remember, the Ithorian was in A New Hope, Star Wars A New Hope. It was in Mos Eisley. So when Luke and Obi-Wan and they all get into the cantina and they're showing all the different alien species, the Ithorian is one that looks like the giant snail slug hammerhead. So
the hammerhead, yeah.
Hammerhead, and he looks kind of like a slug. So it's a very brief scene in the movie, but anytime I watch it, my eyes always just like, gravitated to that scene. I was like, oh God, that guy is so cool, and his voice is so deep. And then, in later years, they actually expanded upon the Ithorian, and obviously they gave it more lore, and they included him in the Clone Wars series. You saw a bunch of Ithorians there, and then even in the animated Clone Wars, which was great, they had this really powerful Ithorian Jedi, which was able to force amplify his 4 throats and like really put the hurt on. It was very cool.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Yeah, so Ithorian, just the way they look and everything, I really like them. And then my second go-to was the Quarren, which, if you don't remember, the Quarren is actually the basically easiest thing to explain them as is the squid face. Yeah,
tentacle face guys.
Yeah,
tentacle face guys. And I always liked the way they looked, but then I really liked them and how they were portrayed in the Clone Wars animated series, because they actually are on their homeworld is Dak, or more commonly known as Mon Calamari. So they actually evolved and grew up in the same world that Phil's Mon Calamari did. And I think that's just such an interesting dynamic to have 2 sentient species evolving on the same planet. And not only that, but in the Clone Wars, the Quarren sided with the Separatists, and then the Mon Calamari were pleading for Republic aid. So they actually not only were on the same planet, but there was such a rivalry between them that they actually chose different sides in the Clone Wars. And I think that was just a really cool kind of a concept to be able to watch unfold. So, yeah.
And everybody likes the hot Twi'lek chicks. So,
is that your third race that you're liking?
Yeah. Well, they're just kind of like default,
Of course.
Pain the size of bombers, that type of thing. But, yeah.
All right, so I think that that'll do it for my engineer's question.
All right. Now, I do also a quick apology. I'm getting over the Rhodian flu, so I'm terribly sorry if I sound a little thick or my voice starts to go in the middle of the show. But all right. Now, we do want to go over the state of the game, or the state of X-Wing. We had a request a few weeks ago on the Facebook page to actually go over this. I kind of didn't quite want to do it. We had a few other things going on, and Minoc podcast did it, and there was a big thread or two on the FFG forums. I kind of wanted to go into it a bit, so I thought it was something worthwhile to kind of bring up and maybe give our particular take on it. And I think for this particular one, let's see, Jake, if you could actually take off J-Bot's restraining bolt?
Yeah, I guess I could. No better episode than my last one to do this. All right, let me.
Just hide all the blasters.
That's right.
Yes,
you can take that with you. It's my gift for your transfer.
All right, let me just move the blaster over here. Phil, can you take this? Jim, here's the thermal detonator. Okay,
yes.
Very good.
Phil,
I don't know where that came from.
Probably an Ewok.
Yeah, Phil, this is a
thermal detonators are like illegal, and people don't like those things. Very, very bad.
All right, we got a couple of anti-personnel mines. We're going to give that to Phil. Okay. Some brass knuckles. Why would you even need these? Here you go, Jim. And that should do it. I think we're...
Let's give it to Gonk Droid.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Restraining bolt, off.
All right. So
I don't have anything bad to say. I don't know what you're talking about.
We can just... So... How do we want to go about this? Does someone want to? I'm hoping someone else will give their thoughts on the game right now.
Sure. I can go over what I've been thinking. This is definitely informed by listening to the Minox go over it. So they're more in touch with like competitive metagame, competitive game.
Tournament this, tournament that.
This. Yeah, and not on a lot of that doesn't apply to what we're generally talking about, but some of it does. So one of their concerns was that just the rules of the game are becoming increasingly more complex. When X-Wing first was released, the rulebook was like the core rules are maybe 3 or 4 pages long, right? And
it was a pretty simple game to start off with.
Yeah, it was very straightforward. And with each expansion, each wave of expansions, they seem to be introducing 1 or 2 new mechanics to the game. So I'm talking about ion weapons. I'm talking about bombs, cloaking, tractor beams.
Conditions.
Conditions now.
Conditions is what really tipped me over, I think. And I'll show you the power of the dark side.
I'll show you. I'm waiting for them to flip cards upside down and that to have a meeting.
Oh no, they're going to have tapping pretty soon. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, no, they won't call it tapping. It'll be
essentially already happened, Jim. I mean, you can flip cards over and backwards.
Well, that's flipping it from front to back. I'm thinking
tapping.
Flip it upside down. Not even tap it, but if you put it upside down, it's have a different meaning.
Okay, it's like if you read the card backwards.
Oh, geez, yeah, it's like a backwards record. Oh my God, how did they break this card?
3 more waves. That's what it's going to come to.
It's a holographic card. If you look at it from the opponent's side, it says one thing.
That's good.
So just increasing complexity is something that's happening to the game. I think one concern that I have about this increasing complexity is that the game becomes less accessible. Like if there's somebody who is thinking about buying into the game today, I can't really tell them that the game is easy to learn. The core mechanics are easy to learn, but to have like a full operating knowledge of everything that's going on in the game, it's actually pretty complex, and the rules are not necessarily all in one place. Like a lot of the rules are very, very heavily distributed out to the cards. There's a slim core rule book, but then there's a lot of all the upgrade cards do different things, and there's a lot of important interactions between cards, combos that really define what ships are powerful. Like ships like Dengaroo, lists like that. It's not something that would be immediately obvious to someone that's just starting out, and it could really. The problem is that because the power level of lists can be tied up in those combos, it's not very difficult to imagine someone just starting out says, oh, I hear great things about X-Wing. They go out and they buy some of their favorite ships, like I don't know, X-Wings, let's say, just
yeah,
and put them on the table. And, just kit out some 100 points of X-Wings, give them like proton torpedoes or something, put them on the table, and then they lose like 100 zip.
Negative play experience.
Yeah, and you have exactly. It is a negative play experience, and this also speaks to the power creep that has been going on. And I think it's pretty undeniable that there has been power creep since Wave 1. It's been slow and steady, I would say.
Are you sure that my 4 rookie X-Wings with proton torpedoes can't take on any list right now and win at least half the times?
Here's the thing. Four rookies with proton torpedoes was probably always a bad list, but it wasn't as bad as it is today.
Oh, sure,
the game first came out.
Yeah.
When the game first came out, if you were like an ace pilot flying those 4 X-Wings, you could probably beat the best list that was out there. If it was flown by someone who is worse than you, or you just played like a really good game. But if you took 4 rookies with proton torpedoes against, whatever the latest hotness is now, I really doubt that you would be able to do the same thing. Like I think that a ace pilot flying that would have a really hard time beating top tier lists flown by me or somebody.
Yeah.
Like against Dengaroo or something like that. I'm not sure that Dengaroo is on the top right now, but you get the idea.
I actually heard some people say that that's one of the reasons why they like X-Wing now, because it's more about the card combos and less about the fancy flying, and that they're not that as good as other people, but now they have a better chance of actually winning more of these games because they have the nice card combos. They don't have to worry as much about flying better.
Oh no, well, I agree with you there. We had not to name names, but we had a guy tonight when we were setting up Mario Kart that's like, well, I'm not interested in flying the same ship as everybody else. Like, I want to have the ability to make my own, with my own kind of combo of stuff. So
sure,
and I get that, but it means like that person has no interest in essentially, and really what it was, he didn't want to fly a Headhunter. That was what it was. He didn't want to fly a Headhunter because he had points. I mean, that's what we're building.
He didn't want to fly it again because he's flown several times and he just didn't want to fly it again.
Right. Well, you say that, but he's never done a Headhunter list. He's done the 24-point game, but he's never done a Headhunter.
Are you sure?
Yep. He's never done that list. But that's it boils down to that. I mean, that wasn't his excuse that, I've done that. His excuse was, I don't want to play the same list as everybody else. I want to play something different. And I get it, it's a casual game, and this guy's a tournament player.
No, he did do at least once because we both took the exact same list, which was Engine Upgrade and Veteran Instinct for our 5 points.
For the Headhunters?
For the Headhunters, and we both had the exact same ship, and it was we both had the game that was just between him and I, and who won. He was the one I did the blue shell, or
Was he running a Headhunter on? Were we running Headhunters on that one?
Yeah, so it was a red shell, and I shot at like range 8 across the table and hit him. It blew him up and made it more of a close game. But yes, that was Headhunters, and he did do it. But yeah, so he has done Headhunters.
Yeah. Okay, so he's done it once, before the rules were adjusted. So, and on an old map. So it's
I think he's done it more than once, but that's okay.
He can't have, Jim. We've only done it 5 times in the
all
store.
Right.
So, like that, but that's what I'm getting to. Is it's the vast, like when we played, for example, people don't like playing old stuff, and that's what is my concern with the game. Is the game is moving away, and I made the joke with the guy, Jason, I think a couple weeks ago, and I said, "What? Here's my take on it," and it's kind of comes from a comical side, but there is a grain of truth in it. People who started in Wave 1, people who like the original core mechanic, who like ships that are based in like deep in the canon, that are obvious ships that anybody, even a cursory fan, recognizes. I said, that's the Old Testament. I said, that's what that is. That is pure Old Testament Star Wars. Then we started throwing in stuff from Rebels. We started throwing in all these kind of cursory ships where you're not, I'm not really a Defender.
Galaxies.
it's like, oh, here's a Defender. Well, I can show that to a friend of mine who's a Star Wars fan. He's like, I don't remember seeing that in the movie. But, oh, yeah, you guys, oh, no, it was in this scene and this thing. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't in the movie. Like, yes, it was in the movie, but 5 frames of the ghost in Rogue One doesn't equal in the movie to me. I'm sorry. Like, that's an homage to, like, oh, we just made it canon. Boop, and then, oh, look, the Raider. So here's what we've got. You've got the Old Testament. That's X-Wings. It's TIE fighters. It's the classic stuff that you recognize. It's the shuttle, right? Then you have the New Testament. It's Defenders. It's all this other stuff that's there. And guess what Rebels becomes? This is Dead Sea Scrolls stuff. It's stuff that it was always there. We just didn't realize it yet.
We just discovered it.
We just rediscovered it. It's Dead Sea Scrolls stuff. So as a fan, you had to like choose it. What do you want? Do you want Old Testament? You want New Testament? You want Dead Sea Scrolls? Because the thing that gets me is, and I made the same argument. Not everybody hates, but there's a lot of kind of ill will towards episodes 1, 2, and 3. But I guarantee you that if they came out with the Jedi starfighters that you saw Obi-Wan flying in,
right? Yeah,
and they put Obi-Wan as a pilot, and they put some and old school Anakin in there as pilots with power creep, even the slight power creep, cards and abilities. Guess what happens? Those ships sell.
Oh,
why?
Sure.
Because you have to. And you know what also happens? People start backtracking. Yeah, I didn't hate it that much. There were some good scenes. Oh, I remember this. That's what they start doing.
Case in point, the K-Wing.
Yeah, they just start to like, oh, it wasn't that bad. They start to pull back on the hate because they have
ugly. I hate it.
They have to excuse their sudden need to play those ships. Yeah. It's like, no, I'm not playing because of power creep. I always did really like that Starfighter. I really like that. It didn't have to deal with the people talking to each other and the lack of any chemistry between Anakin and Padme. Like this was just pure Star Wars of starfighting. Like I could get behind that. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I get it. You just need an excuse in your mind. And that's what worries me about the game is that it's starting to dredge ships out. And when I heard that, essentially, I don't know the whole story, but the rumor was FFG said, we need an epic size ship for the Empire. What can you give us? What can you put in the canon so that we can put it in the game? Mm-hmm. How far are we away from essentially FFG and Disney being in bed and saying, we need a whole new wave of ships. We got nothing. Can you bring something out of the past and make it canon? Not by making it the focus of a movie or, huge, scenes in the movie, just put it in the background. All I need is 5 frames in the background.
You know that the Raider was invented by FFG, right?
Yes, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like we made this ship. We need it to exist somewhere in the canon so that we can, put it on the table.
Well, yeah, there wasn't anything in the movies that kind of fit the bill of course the Empire would have to have something like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, I completely understand it. It makes sense that they'd have a craft of that size, but where was it? It wasn't there until they needed it to make the money. And there's a guy I talked to tonight, and we were talking about this in general, and he was talking about Axis and Allies. He said they started dredging up prototype ships because they needed more content. This ship it never saw combat. He goes, it was a prototype. It was a blueprint on somebody's desk during the war, and they needed more content. They needed to sell more product. And I'm afraid that's where the game is starting to lean. Is it starting to say?
Yeah, just take my case in point here. The K-Wing. The K-Wing was featured in one very obscure trilogy of Star Wars EU books. What was it? The Black Fleet trilogy?
No idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I couldn't begin to tell you.
You know what Miranda Doney's claim to fame was?
She ate the most donuts on a dare. I don't know.
I think she crashed into I think she miscalculated something and died in a crash. No, okay. Here's what happened. She, they were making an attack against these nasty alien guys who were, causing trouble. And these guys' MO, these were the Yevethans, or Yevathans, or whatever. And their MO was that they would take hostages. And so the New Republic sent this like bombing run against a space station or whatever. Ranadoni's out in front. She's in a K-wing bomber. And the Yevethans say, "Oh, we've got these hostages," and they like transmit people pleading for their lives. And then she pulls out of her bombing run, and then the Yevethans like shoot her down. So she got shot down. She, pulled out of an attack run and got shot down. That's her claim to fame. And
Woohoo.
she's one of the top pilots in competitive X-Wing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh well.
But that's where I it's not the current state of the game, but it's where it's headed. That's what bothers me, is that we're getting into this realm of I've said it before, running out of ships. At some point you're going to run out and you're just going to be waiting. Oh, no, they're always release some in the new movie. Well, yeah, because they need to sell toys. And that's what these things ultimately are, is toys. But do you really want them to just keep releasing product just to release product? And I know as a company, you can't let the game just stagnate. Oh, we've released everything. But what other companies do is they do the dreaded 2.0. Suddenly, it's 2.0. Everything needs to be re-released. That's how Games Workshop would do it in a sense. Oh, no, you got to buy the new books. You can keep your figures, but if you want to play in tournament 40K, although that's not really doesn't exist anymore, the figures have to be equipped just like, they're on your army list, right? So that means all your figures that are equipped the old school.
WYSIWYG, right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That really shoved me in the wrong direction with 40K. I was like, what?
Right.
Come on.
But see, that was their trick, was these people have these models that they've modified and customized. Well, X-Wing, they don't really have that. The X-Wings are the X-Wings. You can't, I guess you could. Oh, no, if you're not using the right paint scheme.
Very few people do.
Right.
Modify them.
Right. So, in a sense, they're kind of caught with like a 2.0. If they came out with a 2.0, what can they really do short of re-releasing the cards? Because a lot of people would be like put off by, I got to buy more, like 5 more X-Wings or 10 more TIE fighters just to get the updated little cardboard piece that goes into it, that sort of thing. And so for me, it feels like they're almost backed themselves into a corner. What do you do? If you come out with a 2.0, they're either going to make a lot of people mad because they don't want to rebuy the ships, or you're just going to have to start dredging this stuff. I mean, people, they want an assault gunboat. It's coming. Just give it time. They will have to put it in there because they're going to be running out of stuff to put in there unless they go back to episodes 1, 2, and 3. Now they have 3 episodes worth of stuff that they can pull ships from, and people are going to hate it. But
plus the
once
anthologies.
they start seeing, they
have a movie every year they can pull stuff from.
Right, but they're going to have a movie every year. But that's what I mean. Now we're adding ships into this stuff, that just to have it. And so when Han Solo comes out, we're going to get a whole crap ton of scum, and just because they're random freighters. Oh, it's a random smuggler ship, that we have to put in there. I fully expect that. Oh, it's a new fire spray that's, Django's ship, that sort of thing. Before it was turned into the Slave One, we need that sort of stuff. And for me, it's like I've stopped buying. I'll buy one ship like every 3 months now because I'm like, I don't care. I don't need some of this stuff just because it's the new hotness. I just like the ships, that I like and remember.
I do find myself buying fewer and fewer ships.
Yeah, and
I haven't bought the Batwing, and I'm not sure if I will.
Yeah, and I know people that are like that. They're huge fans, and they're slowing down in their purchasing because they're getting burnt out on buying the new thing that they just really don't recognize.
I bet if someone wants to start into Tournament X-Wing, they're getting their friend in, oh, what do you get? Should I start with a core set? I can see them going, no. You can buy damage deck and templates off eBay for parts, cheaper because you don't want the X-Wing or the TIE Fighter or the T-70 or the TIE-FO even. Or maybe the special for maybe the TIE Fighter because of some of those. But But I can Mega Leader basically is the only reason you'd want. But I could see people, no, you don't buy any of the core sets because you don't want those ships. You just buy all the parts that you need, the dice, the templates, and the damage deck, off eBay, and then buy these other ships because that's what you really want. Which is just kind of sad. But, okay, so...
Well...
The fact that the iconic ships don't really get much play is sad.
Yeah, and you guys have pretty much hit everything on the head, but just so I can hear my own voice for a second, you definitely have it right. I think that, Phil, you remember when you first showed me this game, however many years ago it was now, you showed me the X-Wing, you showed me the TIE Fighters, and I think you had some TIE Interceptors too, and I think there's Y-Wings, and I was just like, oh my god, this is awesome. This is so cool, the coolest thing ever, and it was all about the excitement of trying to outmaneuver your opponent, really. Like, you could definitely do the upgrades and the cars and everything, but really what it came down to was, your ace skills, your flying skills.
Right, and what you mean by that is, outmaneuvering other people by what you programmed into your dial, not necessarily
correct
by boost and barrel rolling off a push the limit, which
correct.
is what most
None
people
of that.
think of.
Right, that's not what I'm talking about. And here's the other thing about that too. So obviously I'm a Star Wars fan. I love board games and I love war games and everything. So I was going to get this and play it. But the thing that really excited me was that for almost a year, my wife was playing this game too, because the game had simple rules. It took 5 minutes to learn. And it took probably, a really long time to master. It had iconic ships from the movies, and she wasn't a big Star Wars fan like me, but she was like, oh yeah, that's an X-Wing. Luke Skywalker flies that. Oh, right. Look, and that's Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. So she was able to get into that aspect of it. And it was just, let me tell you guys, when your wife plays the game that you play, there's nothing as blissful as that. There's nothing as blissful as that. Because then when Phil's not around, I can actually hang out with my wife and do something that I enjoy. So anyway, the point is, though, that over time, and Phil and J-Bot and Jim, you're all right, it started to add more ships. And at first I was like, hey, cool. Okay, now we got, the TIE Bomber, and, we're getting some more Rebel ships. I don't really play Rebel, so that's okay. And then, Shuttle, the Shuttle Tydirium, was great addition. Yeah. Yep. But then they added more, and then it started to get to like the other things, like the TIE Punisher, the TIE Phantom, the TIE Defender. I know I'm going out of order, but it started to get all these little.
Fewer people were excited about the TIE Punisher coming out than.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like I used to be on every wave. I used to be like, oh my god, the wave's coming out next week. Like, I'm going to be at the store. I'm going to be at the game store, and I'm going to get my ships. And as time went on, I started to get less and less enticed, and more and more cards. When my wife and I would sit down to play, I would be sifting through cards and cards and cards, just like, okay, what upgrade card do I do here? And I think it lost the appeal for her and me. I mean, not so much for me, because then I would still try and play with Phil when I could. But yeah, there definitely was a decline. And for me, I think, unfortunately, that final nail in the coffin was the what do you call it? The conditions, I'll show you the dark side. Like, when that came out, I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, I have yet another rule book on a card now to play this game. And by that point, I felt like, there's nothing that they won't do now. And this is really, it used to be a game for the love of Star Wars, and now it seems more of a game just to, and I don't want to say it because it sounds mean, it sounds petty, like just to make money. But I know they're a business. But
well, maybe not so much about Star Wars. It's a space fighter game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think our first episode was, would you play this game if it was a space fighter game, or would you play this game because it's Star Wars? The IP is a huge thing. And you know what also, and this is kind of a related note to what we're saying here, is that I see so many other companies making this same mistake, going down this black hole. And most recently, it was a game which J-Bot, I'm sorry to say, I had been playing this game called Galaxy of Heroes for 2 years, and I just stopped playing it. After all the time and admittedly money that I put into this game, it kind of went down that path of, adding so much more content into it that it's weighing me down, and it's more of a chore than anything else to keep up with all the new releases of all the new characters.
Oh, I agree.
Ships. And I'm shocked and mad because really when this game first came out, I had this focus. I was like, you know what? Everyone does, this team or that droid team or this rebel team. I'm going to be the guy with the Empire team. Even though it's not the most competitive, I'm going to have the highest Darth Vader leading a Stormtrooper squad. It's going to be so cool. And I did that for a while. And then they just started adding more characters. And okay, that was cool. I got more characters. But then they started adding more, zones where you could invest. Like you can do these raids now. And now they unlock these ships. And then, one of the major things about this game was there was a little bit of a grind. So you would spend time to unlock certain characters like Count Dooku or Darth Sidious or Darth Vader even, right? But then this past week, I haven't really been on this past week, but I got an email or notification that said, come on, to the game. We miss you. And just so you know, this week we are having a dark side sale. And it's like, a dark side sale? What does that mean? So I went on and in the game, all those characters that I had just mentioned, like Count Dooku, Darth Sidious, and Darth Vader, and Emperor Palpatine, for $19.99, you could unlock him for his full, power and full class and abilities. And I was sitting there, I was just like, are you kidding me? All those like hours and days that I spent trying to unlock these characters, and now anyone could just come in and do like, $20 and grab all the characters. So I know this is a slightly different situation, but I think that the principle remains is that at a certain point, the game developers or the board game developers or FFG, they almost get too big for their britches. They try and add way too much content, and then they get down this spiral where they're trying to constantly add more content because they think without it, they're just going to lose more players. Now, they might. It's true. Maybe if they didn't add ships to X-Wing, maybe for some people the appeal might have gone down a little bit. But I think that they went too far with the adding of the ships, and like Phil was saying, like
they dug too deep, too fast.
They dug too deep, too fast, and the power creep unfortunately was, I think, a little too obvious too. Right? I mean,
can you tell me they're like the dwarves of Moria?
Like the dwarves of Moria.
That's right.
Kylo Ren is the Balrog.
Kylo Ren is the Balrog. This is perfect.
Well, he's going to have a new ship in the new one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody posted it to our Facebook page, and I think had 3 comments. At least 1 or 2 of them were mine. Did anybody notice the similarity between the ship I posted a picture of and the picture of Kylo Ren's new fighter?
A little bit.
I mean,
there is not a little bit. They are identical, except for the fact that one is
I don't know.
Like
we know
that
it's Kylo Ren's fighter.
vehicle.
That was concept art for episode 7 for the new TIE fighter.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah.
But it's like
I'm all over
to
this.
me it was like now they're dredging stuff out of a video game that's not canon. And as much as I love that era, and as I love that video game, like I don't know if I want to see them in a sense bastardize that by let's just take the shape and the design, the rough design of this ship, and bring it into the future. So we know that we haven't made that canon. We've just stolen a cool piece of it, and there's no real link other than just the vague design schematic of it. And that goes back to my whole year starting to dig too deep. That's a kind of a good way of putting it. And I'll say what was kind of on the edge of what Jake was saying is they're running dangerously close. I know there's still skill involved. Don't let me, downplay that.
Yeah,
right. They're running dangerously close to pay to win, and that's the kill button for a lot of people. And when you get to that point, well, if you don't have the newest wave or 2 of ships, you are at a supreme disadvantage on the competitive side. Obviously, casual's got a million things we can do, but from the competitive side, I could see people being really frustrated. I've got to buy 3 of this new ship in order to get the right card combination, even if I never use the ships, in order to really compete at the high level.
It's like the Millennium Falcon, and that's when the only place you get an engine upgrade. I know people who bought like three Falcons so they could get all the.
Yeah, it's not to say it didn't exist before, but it feels like we're starting to get a little bit further down that slippery slope of
it's not a binary thing. There's always a degree of power that came from building your list, of course.
Correct.
But the it's a continuum between, you know, player skill and list composition, where your power comes from, and the source of power is increasingly, it feels like increasingly going towards list composition.
Yeah, absolutely. And I worried. I remember when we first saw the condition cards, and I know Jake that it sounds like it turned him off almost completely. But when I first saw them, it scared me too, because it sets a precedent. It opens a door to an entirely different style of game than what
up until
got
that
us
point.
into it.
Up until that point, it was a very simplistic one card, one ship, you know, or like one pilot, one ship, and then maybe an upgrade. But then the Pandora's box opened. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the ships that I see on the table. Now, granted, we see mostly tournament level guys. So from my perspective, I see a lot of this on tournament, and I know we don't play it. I know we stay away from it. But what scares me is if I'm average guy and I walk in, and I never played before, but I've had a vague interest in it, and I go talk to Jim. He's over there in the corner. Hey, what's this? You know, invite him in. Hey, we'll show you how to play, all this other stuff. And I see what he puts on the table to explain the game to me. Here's here's 2 TIE fighters, or here's Luke and R2, right? The classic kind of teach me to play the basics of the game. And he's like, it's really simple. It's really simple. And I glance over at a tournament player, and he's got 6 upgrade cards on one of his, and he's running 3 ships in a list, and he's got 20 upgrade cards on the table. I'm like, how is this simple? How is this even remotely simple? He's got 1 million cards over there. And then if I did a little research and realized that, half of those cards you have to get from like all these other ships that he wasn't even flying. Like that would start to scare me as a new person coming into it.
I have to say that we've gotten a lot of people into the game, because it was just kind of 3 of us, J-Bot, Josh, and I, and we built up our scene, and now it's huge. I've seen probably about 50% of people who get into the game quit within the first 3 months. And
we had another guy tonight trying to sell us stuff.
Yeah, he just joined. He just got stuff, you know, like a few months ago. He just picked up a bunch of stuff, and they come play us, and we show them the game, and we play casual. But then they can't play us every game, you know, just depending on who we're playing or what we're doing, or we're doing some sort of crazy mission for the podcast, you know, and they go off and play the other guys, and it turns them off. They're just kind of like, I just want to play X-Wing with ships I know and go pew pew. They play other games. They don't want to have to do homework to read up on the latest, you know, what's the latest
I'm the greatest example of that. Jim's like, are you just going to fly a list that I give you, or are you going to do like actually create one? Because I don't want to do homework. I don't want to sit there and pore over all the ships and cards.
Yeah, of course.
Let me forget. I got 2 more points I got to figure out. Oh, I can fit this in there, but it makes no sense. Let me get, you know, and it starts to become a headache. And I play a lot. I'm at least vaguely familiar with a lot of these crazy combos that are out there. Somebody brand new to it, it would scare them. At least I would think it would scare them. And I know that I can say this without any, you know, disbelief in it. If I were to walk in there now, I would not start playing. Like if I were to go back at this, and I asked this question in the Destiny for the card game question in their Facebook page before I quit, after you get all the hatred and vileness of the internet. I said, knowing what you know now, and this works the same way with X-Wing, knowing what you know now, knowing what your investment is so far in the game, what would it take, number one, to buy you out of this game? So where you would never play it again. Don't just, I could sell all my stuff for $3,000 and then buy right back in. No, what would it take to buy you out of this game and you never played again? What number would that be? Mm-hmm. And then the second thing is knowing everything you know about this game, knowing what you've put in, knowing all the time you've invested in the homework. Would the person that started playing this game 2 years ago start playing this game? Like, would you say, you know what? Maybe I would have just stuck with, board games. Maybe I would have just stuck with 40K, because we're getting dangerously close to that point when I can go in there and I can see them set up. And most people who are vaguely familiar with 40K, they set up, play, and tear down, and we've only finished like one game. Like, wait a minute, this is supposed to be fast. How did we become 40K? How did we get to the point where, we don't need a full rule book, but we're getting pretty darn close to it where, the setup time with all these cards and explaining them all and it's getting dangerously close to where a game of 40K can beat you in time. It's like, how did we get that far? I don't know. I can look at it now and say, you know what, the me 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, however long it was, if knowing what I know now wouldn't have gotten into this. I would not have got even as much fun as I've had. It's like
most X-Men games finish faster than a 40K game, though. I mean, people play tournament games in an hour.
Right, and I get that, but this wasn't a tournament 40K game, and it was two people playing relatively casually, and they weren't finishing in an hour. Like that's just how it is. It seems like that, but two people playing relatively casually aren't finishing that fast, and tournament guys are when they're deadly focused. They're straight into the moment, but outside of that, they're not, and it's because of all the rules. What does that card do again? Explain that to me. Oh, how does this interact with this one? It's the vectored thrusters. Like if I use vectored thrusters, but you have Bowshek, like how does this work? Like, do I get to use my vectored thrusters before you force me to change my maneuver to something else, or does that stop my vectored thrusters from even going? And you got two tournament guys discussing it for 10 minutes. It's like, well, we're getting confused. We're starting to get to the point where you need a rules lawyer. You need a law degree to start to understand some of this stuff. And that's the curse of 40K is as soon as you need a law degree, you have to, quote chapter and verse, not of the rule book, but of the FAQs and the errata and the random Twitter posts that FFG might put out for something like that. Like that becomes a scary notion for these games. And I know I'm dragging on, but has anybody answered my question? Because I have not seen it. I asked this question a number of weeks ago. They've changed the way certain cards actually read. This card should include this word. This card should, like the Heavy Seek, for example. If I go buy one right now, is that card changed? Was that card fixed?
It's going to be updated in reprints. I mean, the Heavy Seeks that are coming out with Croc have the updated wording.
Right.
And
so
some other ships that had some upgrade cards, when they did a reprint, like they made a whole batch and then they ran out and then they waited and they basically reordered new ones. They did fix the cards.
Okay, so if I'm new guy on the scene and I go into a Barnes and Noble and buy one that's been sitting on the shelf for 3 months, 4 months, I'm not going to know this. I'm not going to, because the card that I get in my ship is completely different from the cards you get in your ship. And if I'm mostly new to this, I might say, oh man, I should have bought that ship because it's got a completely different Heavy Seek upgrade than the one I've got. This doesn't seem right. How is this not fair? Oh, you should have read the errata.
That's why FFG has been loath to want to do things in the errata. They have been loath to really change things in the errata or change things external from new cards. They've actually done a pretty good job for most games to do that. There have been a few things that have changed in that regard, but for the most part, they've done better than other game systems. They have not wanted to do things in the FAQ / erratas.
Yeah.
Right, but that kind of desire, they've had to do it. They've had their hand forced, but that desire has also kept their hand back from fixing things that they know are broken. And they've known are broken for a long time. They've said, "Oh, we just don't want to make these changes because it's, requires too much of a monumental effort to fix." And it's like if we wanted to fix the Biggs card, for example, how would you even begin to fix that?
Easy. Just say once per round.
No, I know that's the fix. That's been the fix for a long time, and anybody who's played it knows. Oh yeah, that should be the fix, not this vague targeting thing, but. How do you fix it as cards in the world? Yes, brand new ones, but where do you get Biggs now? How do you get the Biggs ship now?
Yeah, you get in the core rule set.
You get in the core rule set that doesn't exist anymore.
It does. They still have the old one.
They still have the old one available. I haven't seen it anywhere.
And you can get it online, and you can get it from FFG.
I say it again. I haven't seen it anywhere. I haven't seen it in my local store, and that's
well, yeah. But we have an
gonna go to
explosion
buy
of
stuff.
it in our area, and we have a very large player base of a lot of new players and such, and not everywhere.
Which is exactly the problem, Jim.
But our area is not as.
What? No, we've got an explosion of people who can't get the old core set. So they
I
can't
think
even
you can
get
order
that.
it still. I mean, so I think if Matt wanted to order it, you can go get it.
I can order a lot of stuff online, Jim, but I don't do that. I go into the store and I purchase it, and that's what a lot of people do. They come in, they play, and they
purchase it.
They get excited and they walk over and they buy it from the shelf, and they don't say, you know what, I'm going to go home and I'm going to buy that online. That's what we're driving at, is we want people to be excited and walk over to the shelf and purchase it, and they, in a sense, can't get that. I'm sure a store can, but how many stores do you know are ordering the original core sets? They're keeping the new core set in stock, and they're not even thinking about the old core sets. So how does FFG go and fix that other than with an errata and hope that new players read that? That they hope that they go out and check that when they buy this new game system and take it home and try and play with their kid. And in that setting, it's probably perfectly okay. But as soon as they walk into the game store, it's a different world. They're dealing with, even casual players know these rule changes.
Okay. So at this point, though, this is kind of why I was reluctant to want to go into a State of the X-Wing, because I was worried too much about a lot of being down on the game. And
it seems like most of you are coming with me on the transfer.
Well, I want to say that I would still, knowing everything now, I would still stay with the game, because I think a lot of the problems don't really affect the casual players for the most part. And I think that now is actually a time where we can recruit former tournament players, people who have been burnt out, like Mr. The X-Father, Mr. X-Man Blake. He is the tournament organizer. He is the guy to run X-Wing with shops in our area, and he got so miffed at the Cinco Quattros, the quad jumpers, 5 of them, that he was just fuming. He had to go out of the store for a minute. He almost started smoking again. He was livid.
But it wasn't the quad jumpers. It was a tractor beam. That was what pissed him off.
Tractor beam act on the quad jumpers,
right?
Yes.
But honestly, his whole the quad jumpers basically just broke his back when it came to the tractor beams. But he'd always hated them. And I remember telling him, and I've said, I've never understood the tractor beam card as it works. Just as a point of, I can't move you backwards. Like, how do I ever capture a ship if I can only ever push it in the direction it's already going? So for me, the whole tractor beam should have just been moving one distance in any direction.
Well, I
barrel
think
roll and move
you
it.
can
But he's like, he said, if it was that, I would quit this game at this moment. That was his answer. He's like, if they made that rule for tractor beams, he's like, I would quit this game. The X-Father would quit the game because of to me, a small change like that. And that's not because he hates that card. It's because he sees what's happening and he's not willing to admit it. He hasn't fully grasped it in his mind to put word to it. And I know we're putting hate on the game, but I don't hate the game. I hate what it's becoming.
Yeah, but listen though, what he said, he was like, I'm ready to really do a lot of casual gaming now. I'm ready to do missions. I think we just need to turn Thursday night at this store to be the casual night and really push it. And that's what he was looking forward to. And so he got frustrated by things. But what for us, because we don't have to play this way. We don't have to pick these combos. And there is always some bleed down into casual games from just the new stuff that comes out. But you can fly X-Wings and you can fly a whole bunch of crazy stuff. And we don't have to buy into all the conditions, and we don't have to buy all the new crap. We can play with 8 X-Wings and 20 TIE fighters.
So I like what you're saying there. I do, because for me, again, that's like the area of Star Wars X-Wing that I loved. I know that it's hard for me, and it may be a fault of mine. It's hard for me to play a game where I know that the game has evolved past where I am actually playing it, if that makes sense. Like, if I would love to play it back in that realm of, you know, X-Wings, TIE Fighters, Squints, and Y-Wings, you know, those kind of classic iconic ships. But to completely ignore the fact that, oh, the game has kind of moved on and I'm really not following the errata anymore or the FAQs. I'm really kind of go. It's almost like you're basically kind of caretaking and creating your own game, which is really neat. But I guess the OCD in me is saying that if I don't know all the rules, if I don't know all the new ships and all the new designs, I feel like I'm inadequate. I'm not fit.
But
fit to
I'm
play.
not saying that. I'm not saying go stagnant and stop and never buy anything new and never read the errata, because the way it is now with like, oh, what's broken. So, like, Dangaroo. Let's look at Dangaroo. If you take Dengar and you don't pair Dengar with Manaroo, is Dengar broken? No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah,
Not
definitely
really.
not.
Hey, you can play Dengar. Just don't play Manaroo. And even if it is a specific, you know, there's only certain builds on both either ship of Manaroo or Dengar is really what makes it broken. So, you know what? You really want to play Manaroo and Dengar? Don't play with those other upgrade cards that make it, but put it into that tier. You don't have to like shut your eyes and never buy anything. It's you just don't play those super awesome combos. It's like just play what you want. Like,
so I like that. I like that a lot.
Like you can play Suntirfell, but maybe you don't have to play with Royal Guard title, you know, stealth device and this and that. Yeah, like you don't have to play like the super duper Suntirfell. You can play like Suntirfell with, I don't know, maybe one upgrade like shield or something.
Right. Now I do like that, but it's really funny as you're speaking. I almost see a rule book called Casual X-winging, where there are limitations on lists that you can bring. Like, you know, you are not allowed to bring Dengar with, you know.
You know, this is, you know, we're talking about all this. We're saying, you know, we're identifying interesting problems with X-Wing. And I think that we also, in a way, have the answer already. And it's the Gen Con event that we're planning to run.
Boom.
Yes. I do. I know we're going to talk about that, but I think I personally see missions as the future that will save X-Wing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you hit that on the nail. I think that's correct, because when you create your own microcosm in the realm and the rules that we're kind of already playing with, that's where it gets fun. And I think that we have done a really good job on this podcast showcasing that. We had several episodes where that's exactly what we're doing: campaigns and missions, and we're showing the flaws in some of them, but we're also showing how much freaking fun some of them can be too.
Yeah, and this actually kind of shoehorns straight into that conversation I was having about Axis and Allies. I said every so often I see them. I'm not there all the time. They have some war games. I could not tell you what they are, but they're military World War II age war games, and I'll listen to them as they come in and they're setting up. And one of my favorite questions that I heard asked as they were setting up, and I'm like, man, this is what X-Wing needs, is what year are we playing? Like, what year are we playing in? Because, it's like, well, this is a 1943, post-1943, so we're playing in, like, we're playing 1940. Oh, that means this unit, and this unit were already gone. Like, they were already wiped out to a man, sort of thing. Or this technology hadn't been brought on board yet. And I'm like, in a sense, that's where X-Wing can go is, hey, look, we're doing specific events that is, it can only be from this small window. This is Battle of Yavin, like
right,
like ships, like you're not allowed to
tiered events, tiered power events where you can't, you know,
like War Thunder. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah, and that's, I was like, man, that's such an interesting concept. And he brought this up. I'm like, man, that's a way around some of this. In a sense, it's like, dude, they didn't have K-wings at the time, or you know, the Hawk wasn't invented at this point yet. It hadn't been released to the public, because I think I was just looking on there. I think it or the Falcon was 9 years before the Battle of Yavin. Oh, we're going to go 10 years back. That ship doesn't exist. You know, sorry. You know, that's just an example. But you say, hey, this is our window from 2 years before the Battle of Yavin to like a year after it, sort of thing. That's your window. So anything outside of that, I'm sorry, you can't fly. And that's very obviously a casual setting. But it doesn't mean that FFG couldn't make that a formal setting. They couldn't come out and say, we have the sanctioned regionals and blah, 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 but we also now have a sanctioned official setting-based, even tournaments, setting-based campaigns, setting-based, seasons where it's going to have prize support just like they do with anything else, but you're restricted to this small window of ships. And here's the list. This is what was available. Mm-hmm. I think it would re-energize the base of the community, and to have that sort of thing like, oh, wow, that's a completely different way of thinking about the game is I'm stuck to this small window. It's a casual idea being brought into an official formal format for players. And I think that would re-energize it. It's like, sorry, you can't have Kylo Ren and all his crazy little, condition cards. You can't have them. They weren't alive at this point. Mm-hmm. And that starts to fix some of the problems. For me, I think it fixes a lot of problems because it is a casual idea. Because that's essentially what you're saying, Jim, is, restrict yourself. If you don't like that combo, then you and your opponent can make the agreement. Dude, no tractor beams. We're not playing tractor beams, or we're not playing shield upgrades, or we're not, whatever. You can make that kind of gentleman's agreement with your opponent, and it's a very casual way of playing.
Gentleman's agreement is a big thing for the casual gamer and for keeping it alive. And I also want to say I have thought a lot about the eras and doing, events and having TOs organize things in that regard. I think that is a very cool way to do it. And having some sort of official thing from FFG would be great. I also think, though, that if you even just did missions and you completely didn't restrict anything and you just had missions, that right there would change the game and I think revitalize it, because the way X-Wing is now, it has been boiled down to a game of mathematical efficiency where certain builds are that much more efficient to mathematically kill your other opponent's list, and that's what the game is. But when you change what the object is, that changes everything. Like, we've been playtesting these various missions for the Gen Con, and sometimes there's these various time limits. It can be random, like, oh, we've got to do things with satellites, and eventually the transmission goes through, and do you control enough through hacking of the satellites more than the other player? Or there's, you've got to evacuate the civilians, and eventually comes down to, can you do that? If you take these super powerful lists like Dangaroo and you play them in these missions, they will lose. They will lose hard.
Right. I think what you're trying to say is that right now the game is 100% about killing the other player and keeping your ships alive.
Yes.
Right?
And that's it. That is it.
Introducing scenarios lets the designers, or lets us, introduce new concerns to the game. So instead of just killing your opponent without getting killed, maybe now you have to destroy something before a time limit, before it escapes or whatever. You have to occupy different areas of the board space. You have to interact with enemy ships in some way. You have to interact with the terrain in some way. All these concerns affect your list choices, and for me, it's a complicated question whether or not missions are good for the competitive tournament scene, because what I would never want, and this is kind of to an extent happening already, is a situation where you put your ships on the table and you've already lost, because that is just not fun.
Welcome to my world.
No, I know what you're saying.
I'm saying that if you look at the mission set and from a competitive mindset, you say, okay, I'm taking a TIE Swarm because I think it's good for 4 out of 5 of these missions, and then you pull the 5th mission and you know that you've already lost because your TIE Swarm is just awful at this mission. that I don't like I don't like that, because you're essentially you're planning to just throw one game to win 4 others, because it's mathematically the best way
Here's
to
the
get
thing now is you
those
have
wins.
there's let's say there's 3 to 5 top meta lists. You have to be able to beat those. And I know people that are like, well, I'm really good at these, and these, but I'm not good at those.
Yeah.
And they just hope they don't get it in the luck of the draw. I think with missions, if you know like these are the 6 missions. These are the 6 missions that you could get. And you better build a list that can do well. And if you don't, if you're like, well, I'm good at 4 of those, but 2 of those, my list is really terrible, I say that's your own fault. That's part of the list building.
Well, it's also the mission designer's fault that
I think
those situations exist.
Because it's like, let's say if you take Dangaroo on one of these missions, it's going to lose. It's probably going to lose a lot of those missions. And is that really? And if they know ahead of time what the missions are, and they bring that list,
here's the thing:
is that really?
It's not healthy for a tournament state to exist where you can bring a list and know that you're going to have a strong advantage on 4 out of 5 scenarios, just because of the makeup of your list and the conditions of the scenario.
Okay, but here's the thing, though.
You're going to throw 1 but win 4, and none of those games are probably going to be close.
Okay, I do think that it's if you're.
Hypothetically.
I see what you're saying with that, but I think there is a certain degree that if you game it so that you're going to win probably the majority of those games but lose the other ones, and that we're still going to put you pretty high up, you're still not going to win all of them, and that won't put you in the very high echelon. So it's impossible to actually to win. I don't know. I think what I see is having like a set. I've seen it happen with Warhammer Fantasy, where everyone just played deathmatch, and you just built these lists that are meant to beat face. And when they changed it to these 6 missions, everyone did cry because they had a very strong tournament scene around the world, and it was very good. I was like, oh, this is going to be the end of competitive Warhammer. Oh, it's it's a terrible idea. And they did it, and it got better, and more people started playing.
I mean, I see your Warhammer, and I read you Warhammer 40K.
Well, this is before the end of Warhammer, the way it got, but that's a completely different aspect of the company throwing it. But the idea of having
Warhammer 40K
missions.
also had missions. Every game was, you randomly get a deployment and a set of objectives.
Right. Like hold a point or hold several points, or whether it's annihilation or whatever.
Right, yeah, they definitely had objectives, at least in the older ones that I played.
And there was certainly dominating meta lists at every time period of that game.
I think the way I see X-Wing, right now there's like 3 to 5 top lists, and those are the ones, and maybe a slight variant, but very few rare breakthroughs that then become the, kill off something else, become the new dominant, are the lists. And that's it. And everything else is just crap. The way I see missions is if you have enough of them that are wide in variety, that if you want someone who's going to actually build a list that can beat all of them, they have to build a real general purpose list that's going to have between like 4 to 6 ships, maybe 3 to 6 possibly. And the way I see it is there's going to be some that come out to be strong. There are going to be some that are going to be that list. But at the same time, the amount of the number of lists that can still do well that aren't like one of those lists is going to be higher, because
it might be higher.
I think when you start dealing with things where like everything's not a top PS ace, and you're not doing the PS war, and you're not doing, having to do crazy repositioning and arc dodging, that a lot of these other ships really get better. And you start finding the number of smart and clever people that can find lists that work to fit the objective with the ships that they want to fly with, to me, is going to be a lot higher. And you'll always have meta. You'll always have the game of the game. There's no getting rid of meta. But at the same time, I see with missions and such a much, much broader. People say, oh, the meta is broad now. Well, there's like 5 top meta as opposed to 3. Is it really that I don't know. I see a much broader effective list potential. People will still net list, but there will still be more variety that has a decent chance to win.
I'd say there's a 50-50 or better chance that we'd see a more broad meta, more diverse meta. I can tell you for sure that I do not expect that same sort of metagame problems with the Gen Con event. And I think we should talk about that now because we're coming close on the hour and a half mark of our hour long podcast.
All right.
We do an hour? Okay. I forgot.
That's what we try.
Yeah, we're an hour long podcast in case anybody was confused about that.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the Gen Con event?
Sure. So,
and also keep in mind, we're gonna pass on the rules to everyone and try to run a global campaign for everyone else in your own region, not at Gen Con, to actually participate. So this is not just Gen Con. So this could interest you. Go on.
Yeah, this is not just limited to the people who can make it to Gen Con and participate in the narrative event. This is going to be released, and you can reproduce this event with your local group. And indeed, we're going to do a internet campaign. Anyway, so the narrative event it's based on a progression of missions, kind of like what you would find in these epic campaigns that are released with the huge ships, like the Point of No Return campaign that we covered with the Corvette. But there's a lot of differences. So there's a progression of missions leading towards a final, like, boss fight type mission, a finale mission. There's going to be two teams. There's going to be a rebel team and an imperial team, and Scum can work for either team. It's actually encouraged that you take Scum lists so you can even out the teams. We can even out the teams at the event. And there's a number of factors involved with this whole event that are designed to really shake up and revitalize the core of the X-Wing game and take it away from what we consider the uninteresting metagame and bring it back to possibly a more interesting game. So some of the things that are some of the key elements that are doing this are drafting of unique pilots, and this is not like a new concept to this narrative. People have been drafting pilots in local leagues, and this will work largely the same to those. People are going to submit draft bid sheets.
So uniques are unique. There's only one of each unique everything in the game. So there's only one, let's just say Suntir Fel.
There's only one Darth Vader pilot or crew. Only one of either of those.
Only one Sabine out of all of the possible Sabine crew, or
yeah, it's first come first serve for all of those, and that's important because it's going to severely limit the amount of combinations that any one player can make. So if there's whatever bizarre metagame list is in vogue at the time that we conduct this narrative event, it's going to be virtually impossible for any one player to reassemble those pieces within their list. And even if they do, there's other components. There's other components to this narrative event that are gonna reduce the potential power that any one player could have through that. So what you do is you're gonna put together a squadron roster. Part of that is going to be drafting uniques, but mostly it's going to be picking non-unique pilots or generic pilots and
starting
generic
with
upgrades.
generics. Yeah,
That's right. So the way the unique pilots work is you start by filling out your roster with generic pilots, and then you have your draft bid sheet, and essentially what will happen is on the day of the event, everyone is going to find out what unique pilots and what unique upgrades they get, and you take
You can only take a bid on someone if you've got a generic version of that ship.
Right. So what happens is if you have a TIE Interceptor, then you can put in a bid for a unique TIE Interceptor pilot, like Turfanier or
Suntirfel.
Suntirfel may or may not be in there on a ban list.
Gotcha.
Depending if he is included in the ban list. I think Jim wants to put him on there.
We have some lists that basically are banned. Most of them are for thematic reasons.
Right,
So basically, the Emperor is not going to be hanging around some ammo depot guarding it.
Right. Yeah. The A-list celebrities from the Star Wars universe are not going to be attending. People from the future are not going to be attending, so no Kylo Rens,
no
T-70
Episode
X-Wings.
7 Resistance or First Order.
All the Episode 7 stuff that is definitely future only is going to be banned. Episode 7 stuff that could potentially have been around for a while, like the quad jumper, might be street legal for the.
Yeah, that might be street legal.
We'll see about the tractor beam if that has to be banned on balance grounds. There's a smaller ban list for upgrades and pilots that are banned for balance reasons. That includes twin laser turrets
and TIE Phantoms.
And TIE Phantoms also, they break too many scenarios to be included.
Just because Jim will be walking around tables smushing them with a hammer.
Yeah, the hammer.
It's an unofficial ban. So anyway, what happens is you build your list out with these generics first, and then you can replace components of your squadron roster with unique pilots that you draft. So if you have a TIE Interceptor, you can draft a TIE Interceptor unique pilot and replace the TIE Interceptor in your list. And when you're playing a mission, if that unique TIE Interceptor pilot dies, if you have Turfanier and he dies during a mission, then you lose that unique pilot. He gets downgraded back to whatever the generic pilot was that he replaced.
And he's gone for good.
And that's gone. No one else can get him. That's
he's
it.
Dead.
All done.
Yeah.
And that goes for unique crew upgrades and you named crew.
Astromech, all that.
Yeah, anything with a dot, except for some rare exceptions like Rebel Captive, which is unique, has a unique dotted symbol on it, but it's that's not really unique. I think we're gonna have exceptions for stuff like that. But another component is so that we just talked about pilot mortality. Unique pilots can die. Also, if you keep your non-unique pilots alive, your generic pilots alive, they can actually sort of level up, and if you keep them alive for 2 missions in a row, you can actually upgrade them into unique pilots that haven't been drafted yet during the event. So, if you have that TIE Interceptor pilot who makes it through 1 mission, he gets veteran status. That's an automatic +1 to his pilot skill for the next mission. And if he makes it through the next mission alive, then you can turn him into any unique pilot that hasn't been drafted yet.
Right.
Right. So you can still, you have some amount of access to unique pilots that haven't been drafted and that don't get drafted in the first round.
And your hangar gets, have you decided on the points, like 200 points or so?
It's going to be, you're going to have around 250 points to play with for your initial squadron roster. So it's not going to be a ton of ships, but it is going to be substantially more than a normal X-Wing list.
And what I like is you can take things like, say, the Seek. Let's say you take 3 Seeks. You can take 3 heavy Seek titles and 3 light Seek titles. And then you can
You can kit them out.
Swap around. You
for your
can kit them out
missions.
differently. You could take 3 ion cannons, 3 mangler cannons, and swap them around, or 3 tractor beams, or whatever it is. You could take TIE defenders. You could take the X7 title and the D title, because in some of these missions, the D title is going to be far superior than the X7. You know, you're going to really want that.
The flexibility. The flexibility is going to be really important with how you put together your list, because there's going to be upgrades that are going to be more useful in some missions as opposed to other missions, depending on your strategy for that mission, and just you want to have a flexible list, because the way this is set up, the way the missions are set up, is that for each round there's going to be 4 rounds. For each round there's going to be 2 different missions that are being played, and they're going to be evenly split up among the tables, and they're going to be randomly split up. You're going to be randomly assigned one of these 2 missions. So what you don't want to do is build your squadron roster with just one set of missions in mind, because then you'll be out of luck when you randomly get the other set. You need to be flexible between those 2 sets, because it's going to be random assignment. So you'll get your mission assignment, you can build your list from your squadron roster, and then you go play that mission. And that serves, the main purpose that serves is it prevents, to a degree, people from, as I said, building specifically for certain missions to try to break them. Because what we're going to do is we are going to release the rules for all these scenarios well ahead of the actual event, and they're all going to be thoroughly play tested and vetted, and hopefully they will be unbreakable.
They're really good. I've been playing them and had a few other people play testers, and they're a lot of fun. I like them. I want to talk about them so much because they're so cool. They're so much better than some of the other missions we've reviewed. So
yeah, we'll definitely be talking about these scenarios. They're custom. These are what I've been working on for the past 4 or 5 months instead of publishing stuff to Mission Control.
Which Mission Control is back online. It was down for a couple weeks. Mission Control is back online.
Well, I can tell you from my angle that I'm excited because, I think we touched on something a long time ago. I think we touched a nerve, at least for people who listen to this, when we started what I said, the start of our radio mystery hour. But they've not only dedicated all this time to making missions, but Jake, our crazy engineer, and the rest of the crew, plus some add-on people, are also spending time doing the actual kind of audio drama of some of these stories too.
The background story,
right? And I'm actually excited about that, even though I have a lot of speaking role. It's like I'm excited from that viewpoint because it feels like a complete story is what's being generated for this Gen Con thing. We're making cool. You guys are making really cool missions. You're going to vet the heck out of them. You got a really different, kind of set of rules for people to play in, this little sandbox for them to play in. And we're giving it some cool background. We're actually putting a lot of effort into, giving it life, bringing some life to the characters and the story that's involved in the whole thing. And I'm excited just to hear that because all I'm doing is doing the input. I'm doing the easy part. It's Jake that's having to be the mad scientist in his lab to take all of our crazy acting attempts and actually do something neat with them. And I want to know when that's going to be released because I think that's going to be something that will that people.
Yeah, I think Jake said he's going to be done in about a week or so.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Okay.
It's going to be much longer, guys.
Yeah. Well, I know we looked at. I mean, we spent 2 hours recording these things, and that's
there's going to be
half of it.
Episodes. 4 episodes. It's essentially like a little audiobook, and each episode is going to be about 20 minutes to a half hour long. And we're going to be releasing them ahead of event registration for Gen Con. Well ahead. We're probably going to be releasing them in March to April, depending on when, we've got the first 2 episodes recorded, and they're being edited now. And episode 3 and 4, I just finished writing, and we are going to be recording those in the coming weeks. And
we're going to tack them on at the end of an episode, aren't we? Each one?
Yeah,
are we going to put them on that episode?
We might have them just standalone. I don't know.
I think we should do all of them. We can standalone on YouTube. We can also, or standalone as a release.
We
boom.
Can put it on the end of end of episodes. That would be good too.
We can put it in podcast format and in YouTube format just to get it out there. Whether it's a standalone podcast quote episode release, or not. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that because there's a lot of effort that's gone into it. From Phil writing it to Jake editing it to
all you guys acting in it.
acting. He says acting. To all that, I know I got a freaking sore throat from doing the first 2 episodes. So I think it'll be fun just to hear. I'm so excited for that portion of it. It'd almost be that by the end of it, like, oh, whatever, the Gen Con event, like, look what we did, look at this crazy the story that we did, so that's where I'm excited because I think,
and even after the global event, it can be out there and some TO or somebody can find it and run it in their hometown, or just 2 guys in their garage or in their kitchen table, playing it and just, hey, let's do the YouTube, play the the music and sound effects. I think it's awesome. So we kind of talked a lot about the state of competitive X-Wing, which we don't necessarily do in the show, and just kind of where it's going. But there's still so much depth to dig, perhaps in a different area with this game. Like we on the Shuttle Tydirium, at least I know J-Bot and I have not even finished Heroes of the Turi Cluster campaign. We still have like a lot of missions to do. We just didn't have time because we keep doing new stuff for the podcast. There's still like all these epic ships and there are missions we haven't done.
Right, there's 3 more campaigns for us to do.
Yeah, 3 more campaigns, and they're going to come out with new stuff like for the Sea Rock, yo.
And then there's aside from all the official stuff, there's fan made.
Yes.
I've got like 30 missions or something stupid on mission control.
The whole point I asked Phil to be on was because I read his missions. I was like, they're awesome. These are really well done, and this guy should be on a podcast with me.
Right, and we have your Punisher mission. I think we're actually going to be reviewing that soon. So,
yeah, I think I made some tweaks I need to tell you about, but
okay.
Yeah.
He keeps losing. I need to tweak it more. Oh, no, I lost again. Tweak more.
But I think that there's some frustration with the game right now if you take it as it is and if you look at it straight up and do the tournament thing. But I think for people like us who don't do that and who just want to have fun with it, I think it is an awesome time to be playing X-Wing. And there's a lot of ships up there. You can ignore them if you want to, or don't, or create some sort of crazy story or mission, or you want to play a timepiece battle. There's so many things you can do in the game right now. I think that, and that's going to be the secret in the longevity of the game.
There's a million ways to have fun with X-Wing if you're not having fun with the local scene wherever you're playing, whether that's local competitive or whatever. There's a lot of different ways to play X-Wing. There's a lot of different ways to tap into the original feel of the game. I think that the Gen Con narrative is going to tap into that because we're not going to see the same sort of combo power. We're not going to see the dominance of these very specific pre-planned metagame lists. You're gonna have to work with generic pilots and work on the fly to do to play these missions that are not going to be they're not going to have immediately obvious strategies to win. You're gonna have to think on your feet at that event.
Right, because let's say someone actually manages to get Dangaroo as a build.
Impossible.
Yeah. Well, let's just say they did somehow. that list is not going to do well in some of these missions.
And the thing is that as soon as you lose one ship out of that list, you're done. That's the last thing. That's the last time you fly that list. And then you're left with what?
Yeah, we talked about this a bit, and I don't recall the specifics because you guys are really detailing that. But it is, in a sense, a large-scale team event, right? So, like, essentially the Rebels, you got, say, half a dozen people playing the Rebel side, and based on the number of them that succeed, let's say, that decides the next step. Am I right on that?
Yeah, so every game's going to count, you know.
So I think it was you, Jim, I was talking about. So let's say, for lack of a better example, somebody does get that Dangaroo list, you know. I might, as my Rebel player, for example, come out and say, I'm doing everything I can. I'm sacrificing every ship I got to take out one of those. Because as soon as I'm like, I might lose, but I know that I've crippled this list.
Take one for the team.
Right. I take one for the team, and it's like, oh, look, there's Soontir Fel. I'm putting all 100 points I've got on it. Like, I'm crushing that guy off of this list, knowing that, or at least in the hopes that the rest of my team, in a sense, is able to pull us back up, or knowing that I'm planning a long-term battle, that, hey, I've crushed this guy, so his entire list, because he focused everything he had on that, has now been weakened for the future. And it might honestly cripple his whole, group of ships because he spent so much time and effort trying to get it. And the other part I like, and the other part I like is the gamesmanship. And this is where the idea first came from my side and Jim, was the gamesmanship of saying, I'm going to build a list specifically knowing like I might be able to take some things away from somebody else that I don't want them to use. Like if I'm doing Scum, for example, since they could theoretically go either way, like I might not want Dengar on my list at all, but I might be able to take him, right? Just, hey, I might actually get him in the draft, and then I know nobody else has got him, and I'm not going to ever have to run up against him in this, and I've weakened everybody else's plans by doing so. There's that touch of gamesmanship that's also available in this, and I really look forward to seeing what people do. And I know we're going to be playtesting these, but we won't be playtesting them under the exact same conditions as they'll be played in the event. And a piece of me misses that. A piece of me is like, oh man, at some point we've got to do this exactly like the event is done, because I want that feeling of, yeah, I've got a bunch of generics, but I'm planning ahead. I'm planning for like, 6, or 2 missions ahead where suddenly this list comes into its own. And from that point forward might be incredible. And that's something I'm looking forward to, is the long game. It's not the 106 as we talk. It's this, oh no, it's a 4-game campaign with mission objectives that I've planned long term for, or I've planned knowing what the final battle is going to be. And I just got to get my ships there in the right format. I can lose this one. I could, tie this one. But if I get my whole list to that final game in the form that I want it, it'll be unexpected, and I know I'll win, or I know I'll have a really good chance of winning. And so a piece of me is going to miss it, but it'll be fun to watch. I think that'll be great, is to watch it unfold at Gen Con and see how people kind of adapt as they go.
And the game's different. Like, there is jousting. I mean, it's like, over there's the objective. You've got to go there. The defenders are there. They're coming at you. Like, hey, Soontir Fel might be able to arc dodge all day long, but if he's not moving close to that objective, he's going to lose.
Right. There's an element in the scenarios of, a board space that you need to occupy in order to win. And you can't play an arc dodgy list the same way that you might in a standard game of X-Wing, because you need to attack certain things. You need to be in certain places. And, you're going to be flying a little more predictably in that you need to go after those objectives. And if you don't, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's always ways to win, not by just going straight after the objectives, because you can always just, try to kill the enemy ships and maybe kill them before they complete the objectives. You always get points for killing enemy ships, so you're not going to be you will be picking up points for killing enemy ships. But if you are ignoring the objectives in every mission, it's gonna hurt in the long run. You're not gonna get those. You're throwing away points essentially.
And what is it?
Yeah, you need to prevent the enemy from getting those points. And then there's an element of the countdown. You don't have a lot of time in a lot of these scenarios to just be flying around the board edges, getting into position.
And what is a good ship changes. It just kind of gets, X-wings. They're fast. They hit powerful. Oh, they can't arc dodge, but it's okay. Like it gets to the
things like mobility matter a lot more too, because you need to get around the board.
So ships like X-wings, T-65s become viable competitive ships.
Even over B-wings, because they can move faster. Yeah. They have a comparative advantage over B-wings, depending on the scenario. Sometimes you want the durability of a B-wing.
And so, like Jake says, it'll be almost like waves 1 and 2 and etc. But you still don't have to get rid of all the new stuff as well. So it should be
There'll be space for those classic ships. I'm confident that there'll be space for the classic ships.
And that's what I like
TIE
to hear.
TIE fighters work well in a lot of these missions, for example.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of board coverage, you have a lot of actions, you have a lot of red dice that you can throw. That counts for a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. So I think we're going to be wrapping things up here. So the state of the X-wing. I think if you're going to the tournaments and stuff, I know a lot of people that are pretty bitter about new stuff and questioning where the game's going and etc. But if you want to be able to take things at a different glance, go things away from perhaps what the rest of the other crowd's doing, I think there's a lot of stuff you can still do in this game. I think it's a lot of fun. I have a really good time playing this game, and I think everyone could if they just maybe take it a different style. Take it casual.
Casual X-wing is fun.
Fly casual.
Yeah, I agree.
And with that, we're going to end our last flight with Jake as a permanent crew, which is a very sad thing for me, I must admit. But Jake, do you have any parting words?
Well, again, thanks for having me. I know that when you found me on Scarif and you hired me to be your chief engineer, it meant a lot. And thanks for having faith in me. And it's been a great ride.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Well, any last closing words by anybody else?
No,
I'm fix J-Bot from now on.
J-Bot doesn't need fixing. J-Bot's in perfect working order. We all know this.
Where's that restraining bolt?
I think I'm going to take the restraining bolts with me when I leave, so you guys can have fun with that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, y'all need to find a new engineer, but he's got to pass all of the standard background checks and employee entrance exams that all the other crew that we try and bring on have to pass too. So
J-Bot gone wild.
And there's the application fee, of course.
Well, yeah, of course. It's like college. There's always an application fee, even if we deny your application.
We can't give a pink slip to humans, though. So
no, but you can give a bag full of wallets.
I can't give a pink slip to what? I don't remember that as a rule.
Well, by the time, are you supposed to be giving Jake his pink slip?
Special pink slip, like you give the Ewoks.
No, he's not getting fired. He's just taking a long shore leave, I guess, is really what it looks like.
There you go.
All right. So with that, we'll end this episode. Hopefully, it wasn't a burden for people. I know even the State of X-Wing for the Minoc, they got some flack for it. But hopefully, this was interesting and entertaining, and people did stick around to the end of it.
I'm looking forward to death threats.
I'm looking forward to the Gen Con event. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Death threats. Why would anybody do that?
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for flying the Shuttle Tydirium podcast. We are the mothership of Casual X-Wing. Take it home, Jake.
Have a good night.
All right.